The Capri you saw on the street could be hiding a snarling V6 3.0-liter under that hood. Or it could just be a tiny 1.3-liter engine, barely strong enough to push the car to 60 miles per hour in over 20 seconds. Same body, same badges, promising the same thing, but two completely different cars hiding underneath. Ford wanted the Capri to be Europe's Mustang, but instead of making it expensive and exclusive, they made it cheap enough that almost anyone could buy one. So was the Capri a real pony car, or just an everyday car wearing the costume of a speed machine? To understand where the Capri came from, you have to go back to 1950. That's the year the Capri name first showed up on a Lincoln Cosmopolitan. 2 years later, Ford used it again for the Lincoln Capri lineup. Then, in 1961, the name crossed the Atlantic for the first time, landing on a two-door coupe from Ford of Britain called the Consul Capri, while the four-door sedan on the same platform kept just the Consul name. But the real spark came from across the ocean. In 1964, the Ford Mustang launched in North America. Within 18 months, Ford had sold more than 1 million of them. That number got everyone at Ford of Europe sitting up and paying attention. They wanted something like that for their own market. The idea actually started in the United States, with early sketches by Phil Clark, one of the designers who had worked on the Mustang itself. The concept was then shipped over to Europe, where Ford of Britain and Ford of Germany teamed up to turn it into a pony car for the continent. At that point, it wasn't called the Capri yet. It went by a different name entirely: Colt. Phil Clark teamed up with Uwe Bansen from Ford of Germany to turn it into a two-door, four-seat coupe. By 1966, the final design got the green light: a long hood, a stance that stood tall on the road. The whole thing screamed Mustang. Ford figured European buyers would go for this pony car, especially with Goldfinger and Bullitt having already turned the Mustang into something close to a legend on screen. But the early design had a problem. The back of the car was dark and cramped, and potential buyers noticed. Ford listened. They added a D-shaped rear window, and that small detail ended up becoming one of the Capri's most recognizable features. The underpinnings were handled just as practically. The whole project had to stay inside a £20 million budget, which wasn't exactly generous for a brand new car. So the Capri was built on the platform of the upcoming 1968 Ford Cortina. The taillights and steering came from the Escort. Other parts came from the Corsair. Before the Capri, Ford's image in Europe was a bit dated, and the hot Cortinas from 1963 had already started to change that. The Capri was expected to keep that momentum going. As for the name Colt, the one that had stuck with the project from the very beginning, it didn't make it to the finish line. Mitsubishi already owned the rights to that name, so Ford had to go looking for another one. They landed on Capri, the same name used on the Consul Capri back in 1961. Just like the Cortina, the name Capri evoked those sun-soaked Mediterranean towns, a world about as far away as you could get from the rainy northern European cities where the car would actually spend its days. Ford sold the Capri as a way for buyers to feel like part of London's jet-set crowd. But at the same time, the car was practical enough to drive the kids to the grocery store, with a trunk big enough for the weekly shopping. A car this practical still got a launch that was anything but. Production started in December 1968, with one clear goal: every dealership needed at least one Capri sitting on the lot before the car officially launched. And that launch happened at the Brussels Motor Show in January 1969. Throughout the entire show, a massive wooden crate sat in Ford's booth. Nobody knew what was inside. It wasn't until the final day that the crate finally opened, revealing the Capri. That kind of build-up sent attendance through the roof on the last day, and the Capri became the talk of the show.